What up, guys? Justin Morgan here, and I have not done a video in a very long time. Probably about a year, I reckon. Not sure. But the last video I made, I think was discussing high-intensity training, like Mike Mincer / Dorian Yates style training. And I do still practice that when I lift, but because I am currently in Police Academy and have been getting ready for Police Academy, I am not doing that. So I'm not doing that as frequently, I guess I should say. When I lift, I do actually still practice high intensity training, but it is usually full body, and I only do it twice per week now. Because most of my time is spent running, doing push-ups, things like that. So my focus has dramatically changed from, especially when I was like a strength athlete competing in powerlifting and strongman and weightlifting. And so, yeah, I've had to modify that. So currently I'm in week 8 of the police academy that I'm in. It's like a metropolitan city police academy, so it's paramilitary. It's run like the military, and it's pretty intense, actually. I've never been a runner, like, ever. Not even really when I was in high school. I had to do a little bit of running for some of the sports that we did, but I was very poor as a runner, and it's never been something that I've done. So training to do the 1.5 mile run is pretty intense for me. So I am older, so because of that, we get a little bit of additional time, but not by a whole lot. So I'm really trying to get to a 12-minute run, and that's kind of where I'm putting my goal at, a 12-minute 1.5 miles. So that would be like I think that would be like a 9-minute mile pace would be the goal. I'm not sure if I actually did that right. So yeah, or 8-minute mile, I guess. Yeah. So that would be like an 8-minute mile would be the 12-minute 1.5 mile time. So I think that's about, if you were on a treadmill, if you set it to 7.5, that would be about 7.5 miles per hour. That would be what you would need to go for a full 1.5 miles to get to the time. So my time's actually 13 minutes and 11 seconds. So if, like, I set my goal to a 12-minute 1.5 miles, then even if I fail, then I'll probably still at least pass my test. So my goal is to get to there. I'm currently around a 16-minute 1.5 mile time, so, or that's what was at my last test anyways, which I had some reasons that it was very difficult for me at that time. I hadn't gotten a lot of sleep because of religious practices. It was the last time I was tested at the academy was the Monday after Pascha in the Orthodox Church, so we were up almost all night. The service starts at around 11:15, 11:30, depending on your church. The lighting, the candle lighting, where Christ resurrects from the tomb, begins at midnight exactly, and then there's a liturgy that begins after that, so a full processional, like, it's a big ordeal. So we actually didn't get home to around 3:30 a.m., and then the next morning I did not go back to church for the Sunday morning very short liturgy, because I had a lot of work to accomplish, and I'd already gone to the liturgy the night before, so I kind of took that day to try to finish a lot of work that I had to do. Then I went the next day on Monday and ran this 1.5 mile test. So, inevitably my time was quite poor. But so I am putting together this program to help me improve that, though still. I'm not sure exactly what my time would be if I hadn't had major sleep deprivation with fasting and all kinds of other things going along with it, but hopefully it would have been at least a little bit better. So this program that I'm explaining now is kind of more for if you're in the police academy and you're trying to improve your run times. You're like me, maybe you're not a runner, and I did consult with some of the runners that are at the school and the academy, and other police officers that have been through the program to kind of put this all together. And so hopefully this program will both, one, lead me to greater success, and if you're following along, then maybe has some ideas that you can take as well. So one thing that I've struggled with is, because I weigh 235 pounds, 235-ish pounds, about 105, 106 kilos, then this makes it, I am a bigger guy. I'm about 6 foot tall, and, while I'm not, overly fat, I do have a lot of muscle, and that muscle still weighs something. And if you're not accustomed to running, all of that weight from the muscle does still have a lot of impact on your knees and your ankles and your shins. So those are all things that can take quite a pounding. I've watched a lot of videos and gotten some advice on running technique and ways to improve my running technique so that it helps alleviate some of those things. But even then, just your weight does still actually have some pounding that it's going to take all of that aside. So some of the things that I have in here are because of that. And if you don't weigh 235 pounds, then these may not be factors that are necessary for you to consider. So if you notice, on the first day that I train, I take a rest day on Fridays. So then that means that my first training day is Saturday. So Saturday, I go and do a 4-mile long run. For runners, that may not be a long run, but given that my goal is a 1.5-mile run, then the 4 miles is quite a bit longer. So hence, that's my long run day. And I do that on a trail. I guess trail running is much easier on your joints and it's easier to do, which is why I have chosen to do a trail run when possible in those places. And then I'll have some other things which will come up in a bit. On Sunday, then, so this will be, obviously after church, I have Sundays to go, and this is just kind of a CrossFit style workout. We haven't gotten in my academy to defensive tactics yet, but in some, I don't know if all academies are this way, but defensive tactics is apparently a very brutal part of the program, and the guys that run the defensive tactics portion of the school, they kind of pride themselves on breaking people and getting them to quit. So you may think, well, that sounds weird. No wonder there's such a shortage of police officers, but they really need people that can knuckle down and make it through those types of things, because it is a very difficult job. And I guess the rationale is that if you can survive some of these things, then you'll probably make it through a career as a police officer. Well, or maybe these guys are just jerks. I don't know. So I'm sure there is, some medium part of the spectrum where all of those things are true. But, I really want this job, so I'm going to do what I need to do. So Sunday has this kind of CrossFit style thing, and it increases. So the week 1, I do rowing, and you can see there's rounds. So round 1, round 2, round 3. The first week is 3 rounds. The second week, I try to increase, add another round. The rowing cuts in half until it gets to 250 meters, and then it kind of stays there. So 250 meters is the lowest that I go. I could probably go down to 200 meters, and it still makes sense as a normal row, but I do that on a rower that's at my gym. So these are the types of workouts I think, or I've gotten an impression that they do in defensive tactics. So I'll do rowing, followed by push-ups, followed by burpees, and that's 1 round. Second round, I decrease the rowing, but I increase both the push-ups and the burpees. And then that continues with round 3. So hopefully, by the time we get to defensive tactics, I think is in a few weeks. I still have 4 more weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to do about 6 rounds of this type of workout and do it fairly quickly. And hopefully by that point I will be fairly prepared for the defensive tactics course that is to come. But that is the purpose of that day. That's why I'm doing it. It's a workout. But so the things that I really need to do is improve my run. So that's why there's a lot of running in this. And then also prepare for defensive tactics and other things that are coming up in the Police Academy course. So Monday, by the time you get to Monday, you see this is a 2 mile run. So both the 4 mile run and this Monday 2 mile run plus 1 mile on the elliptical, these are all at kind of a zone two type training where the goal is to increase my lactic threshold. So I want to be able to improve my ability to do that. So I'm running with a heart rate as a 42-year-old man, I am running with a heart rate of around 135 beats per minute. So that's just based on my goal. So I have to walk. Sometimes I have to stop to walk a bit to get my heart rate to come back down. Sometimes I just run slower and can modify my pace to maintain that. Once I get into defensive tactics and some of the other parts of the course, I won't be able to do that. My heart rate will probably be quite high. And often when we run as part of a class, because I am slow, my heart rate is very, very high. So I'm, up in that like 90% of my max heart rate threshold, and I'm still at the back of the class. So that's pretty rough. But these are the things that I'm doing to try to improve that. I've tried running at high intensities all the time, and the result has been that I actually have gotten worse. So hopefully by running with a heart rate that's around that 135, so it's really like 120 to 145 is kind of like where I hang out. If my heart rate gets up to 145, I slow down or walk for a bit until it gets back down to around 120 or 115, and then I begin going again. So those are kind of how I do those runs. But the run that you see here on Monday is that I do a 2 mile run. This is usually on a treadmill, or if I can go back out to the trails that day, then I'll do that as well. In fact, whenever I can go to a trail, I do that instead of one of these. But I do the 1 mile on the elliptical to finish because it's a little bit easier on my knees and joints, and it's easier to modify the speed that I'm going at to adjust my heart rate as well. So I'm doing my heart rate or tracking my heart rate with my iWatch, and then also on the elliptical machine there's one of those handheld devices that kind of tracks that. I know some people don't really think those are that great, but for my purposes it seems to work just fine. And my watch and the elliptical machine itself usually are about the same. They're within one beat or so of each other. So I think they work pretty well based on that. And I don't really need it to be hyper accurate. It just needs to be pretty close. So for my purposes, those seem to work quite well. Tuesday is during the lifting, or during the day, during the lunch, we have a weight room at the police academy. And so I go to the weight room and lift that day. And so that's one of those high intensity workouts that I was talking about. It's a full body workout. So it's usually some type of squat, some type of usually overhead pressing. We do a lot of push-ups during class. Like every time we get a break, we're doing push-ups. So I don't really worry about doing a whole lot of chest workouts because I'm actually doing a lot of volume on push-ups throughout the day. So that being said, usually I do some type of squat, some type of deadlift, like a Romanian deadlift or just a conventional deadlift. And then I do or front squat, for the squat, front squat, either one. And then I do an overhead press and pull-ups. And usually that's about it. I do cable pullovers, which is hard to describe, but maybe some type of small thing like that. But I don't really do a lot of volume. I work up to one heavy set for each of those with a goal to get stronger or at least maintain my strength in those areas. And then I have to actually eat my lunch and get ready to go back to work. So we get an hour lunch at the academy, so that's pretty nice. Of course, we have to be there for 9 hours instead of 8, or 8.5. But it's an hour to do something during that. So I try to get notes done, study, work out, stuff like that. use my time as efficiently as I can. But that is what goes on that Tuesday. So I do lifting during the day, and then in the evening I do 2 miles on an elliptical machine. This allows me to work on my heart rate, work on my cardio, but not do any additional beating up of my joints and things like that. So that's the purpose of having that in there that day. Wednesdays is kind of a high intensity run day. This is the day where I'm really focusing on increasing my speed in my run. So probably after we finish defensive tactics and all that, and the only thing I'm really worrying about is running, then I'll probably drop all of this out of here, and 6 days a week I'll be running. Probably 2 days I'll still lift, but I won't be doing a lot of these other types of workouts that you see in here now. So these are things that are related to defensive tactics and improving my running, and it has several different goals built into it. Once my goal is only running, then I'll probably have 2 of these types of workouts that you see on Wednesday during the week. There'll be 2 of those, and then every other day will be kind of more of the zone 2 type running with some lifting here and there. But right now, this day includes 400 meter repeats, so that's like 1 lap if you are on a track. And, I try to do the 12-minute mile-and-a-half pace for each of those laps that I do around the track. And yeah, so I start week 1 is with 4 of those repeats. So that's 1 mile of running at that pace, which is an 8-minute mile pace. And then I increase 1 lap, or I add a lap every week to that. So there's 2 minutes of like walking. And that's one of the things that I kind of like about this, is that you are still moving, you're still walking. I've done other types of these workouts before, and maybe it's just because I'm not a runner and I didn't really know what I was doing. But, when I stopped and kind of just didn't do anything for the recovery, I think this is better in that it helps me kind of continue with, just cardio, just continued movement. Because when you do these races, obviously you're not stopping. I don't know if that's good. I'm not a runner. I don't know anything about running, but, that's it. So then Thursday's relatively the same as Tuesday. There's lifting during the day, and then I do a 2 mile elliptical run, I guess, in the evening. Friday, I say rest. Usually I do actually go on a walk or something with my wife, or we do something. So there's movement, but, I'm not doing like a workout of any kind. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. Hopefully this transfers to improved running times as well as improved ability to just get through defensive tactics and those kinds of things when those classes come up. So hopefully you guys are doing well. I know it's been a long time since I've done videos. If you're still around, you're probably in a police academy, but good luck to everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Take it easy.